Excellent. Welcome to the dungeon, the frozen dungeon that is the Small Business Expo workshop. How's the shot here?
Are you going to stay over there?
Yeah, I probably should. Is that better?
Let's hope you don't get feedback now.
I'm not. I thought the same thing too. That's why I tested it out. Do I need the mic? I don't think I need the mic. Do I? No. Okay. This guy said it twice. He's like, put the mic down. All right. My name's Sebastian Rusk. I'm a speaker, comedian, and I own an agency here in Miami that helps people launch podcasts in 90 days or less. All terrible career choices, but I got lucky. Been doing this for the past 15 years, started the podcast agency 9 years ago. It has become my life's work. I now not only have the opportunity to be a podcaster and grow my own business and network with a podcast, but now I get to enable people to do the same thing. So we help business owners go from idea to iTunes in 90 days or less with a podcast launch solution, then we support them ongoing. Those are not pitches. We're not supposed to pitch in here. I don't pitch anyway, but a lot of people are like, what do you do? So I want to make sure I preface things with letting everybody know kind of what I do and why I'm qualified to talk about what we're going to talk about today, which is how starting a podcast can radically change your life and your business if you let it. Everybody okay with that? Say yes or yes.
Yeah.
All right, let's get started. So real quick, here's how cool I am. I raised a kid all by myself on my own, sent her off to college. She's now in the master's program and a contributing member to society. Check plus. My greatest accomplishment, my most prized possession. She's 23, lives in Dallas, is thriving, and just got back from a 10-day cruise. I'm like, you live a better life than I do. Here's how it all started. Met a guy by the name of Gary Vaynerchuk. Anybody familiar with Gary?
Yeah.
A couple people. Got introduced to Gary back in 2010. People couldn't even pronounce his last name. I said, I just had this gut instinct. This guy's onto something. He's going places. I need to connect with him. So I did just that. And we connected right around that time and built an incredible relationship. He became a phenomenal mentor and friend in my life and has obviously gone on to do incredible things and become a worldwide phenomenon. One of the most humble, grateful individuals that I've ever met in my life. So be more like Gary.
Sorry, what does he do or who is he? I've never heard.
He's a serial entrepreneur, business owner.
Okay.
Yeah. So I want everybody just to imagine just for a second. I just want to, if you got to close your eyes, go ahead and do that. But just for a second, I want you to think about what's possible if you walked out of this room and you said, you know what, I'm going to start a podcast. I'm doing it. I want to grow my business. I want to improve my communication skills. I want to make an impact. I want you to think about that. Because you imagining what's possible is so important. Because I'm here to tell you, until you decide to take massive action, someone's missing out. So I preface all my talks with that question, and I'm going to do the same thing today because it's important. The goal of this question is to get so far in your head that it's all you can think about. Who's missing out because you're not showing up? Somebody asked me this question 14 years ago when they said, so Sebastian, what's next for you? And I said, I don't know. And they said, that's a problem. And these are my wildly offended days, so I was like, I don't know who this person thinks they are. Telling me what I'm doing with my life is a problem. I said, well, so what do you mean? And she said, who's missing out because you're not showing up? Who's missing out because you're not bringing your gifts and talents to the world? Because it takes one conversation, one thing that you can say or share with someone that will absolutely catapult them into action to go out and do something great. We're all connected in this life experience. You guys agree with that? Say yes or yes. It's our responsibility to feed into each other's lives, whether it be a perfect stranger. It's become my life's mission to make an impact. That's why I started doing comedy. If I can make you laugh, we're going to build a relationship together. I'm already funny looking. If I can be funny, winner, winner, chicken dinner, right? It's important. But I want you to think about who's missing out because you're not doing that thing. I don't know what the thing is. Maybe your thing's the podcast. I hope it is. If it's not, whatever it is, write a book, quit the job, leave the shitty relationship, whatever you want to do. Something there that you need to do that you haven't done and someone's missing out, including yourself. So what's possible? I learned a long time ago that anything's possible, but only 100% of the time. That's what's possible. So after you've imagined what it would be like to walk out of this room and say, I'm starting a podcast, I'm going to start showing up so people don't miss out. I want you to start thinking about what's possible. My life has been radically changed because of podcasting. My life has been radically changed because I decided to get off the bench and into the game. A lot of bench warmers out there, just comfy as can be. We've heard the quote before, nothing grows in comfort zones. Nothing, ladies and gentlemen, grows in comfort zones. You're only lying to yourself by saying, well, shoulda, coulda, woulda. My favorite are the people that I'm going to be doing that Q3 and Q4. Next year, I have a plan to do it. They're out here talking about what they should do. I should be doing this. I should be doing that. Tony Robbins says people find themselves shoulding all over themselves. It's true. Nobody cares about what you used to do. Nobody cares about what you should be doing. They care about what you're doing. Simon Sinek said, people don't care what you do. They care why you do it. So think about that. Why are you doing what you're doing? New business, more exposure, consistent content, new relationships. That's where the magic happens, the new relationships. But why? Why should I start a podcast? I don't know. That's a one-player game. That's a one-player question. Figuring out what your why is. But I found that if I sit for a minute, when I was trying to figure out my why, and I asked myself if I could get up every morning, and when my feet hit the floor, I get that real funny feeling in my stomach that just lights me up, and I go, yeah, I want to do that. That's my why. And I was able to figure that out. I said, I want to speak, I want to do comedy, and I want to help people launch podcasts. If it's not those three things, I'm just not leaving the house. Those, my friends, are called healthy boundaries. Not just with other people, but with ourselves. Boundaries aren't there. Boundaries don't exist to keep the bad out. They exist to keep all the good in. And that comes with business and in life. Life has so much to do with business, and business has so much to do with life, especially in the digital age that we're living in with AI. We are craving the human experience, and we will continue to as the robots continue to show up.
So, do you take questions?
I don't, later. So, I only have 30 minutes. I apologize.
No.
So, I just want to set the record straight real quick before we dive into this. That yes, you can. Sounds a little elementary. Sounds a little woo-woo. But I want to clear the record today and give you permission again and let you know that yes, you can. You can do whatever you want. And the reason I bring this up is because somewhere along the line, someone told us that we couldn't do something, and we believed them. And then we took it a step further, and we started to live our lives according to that. The story that wasn't even true. And then we took it a step further. We started to enroll people into that process of a story that isn't even true. So can we all agree, say yes or yes? Yep. That we can do whatever we want to do? We don't need permission from anybody. Ignore the noise. I don't care what mom, dad, wife, husband, neighbor, cousin, kids, the internet, tune it out. That gut instinct, I believe, is God's whisper. That's enough confirmation for all of us to go do whatever it is that we need to do to make an impact in our lives and those around us. So here's the reason you should be starting a podcast, in my opinion. Number one, who do you get to become? What's possible? But to tell your story, to serve other people, to build relationships, and to create a platform to serve and connect. I'm going to take a sip of vodka real quick. You guys take notes. Could you imagine? Podcast guy was great, but he was drunk. Yeah. So finding your why. This is a great little exercise. I talked a little bit about it a few minutes ago. Finding your why. If I had my dream business, I would be doing fill in the blank. I feel most fulfilled when I do fill in the blank. My deepest desire is to fill in the blank. Here's what it takes to start. First of all, figure out why you're doing what you're doing. We talked about that already. Next, come up with a name. There's a lot of stupid podcast names out there. I'm trying to change all that, okay?
Some don't
The
make
AOL screen name days are over. We need something that complements your brand, that resonates with people. When people say, what's your podcast? And I say, podcasts suck. A podcast about starting and growing a podcast. It resonates with people. My other podcast is called Beyond the Story. I tell people stories, and it's my networking tool. It's how I build the agency. It's how I build new relationships. Beyond the Story. Okay, I get it. They pull it up. They see it. The name needs to be catchy, relatable, and complement what you do and your brand. Branding. There's an example of Beyond the Story. That's actually my old cover. But this is your logo for your podcast. Okay? It needs to be clean. There's a lot of terrible podcast cover art out there. I'm like, what is that? I'm like, I did it in Canva. And I was like, I know. You're going to use it for your marketing. You're going to use it for your micro content. You're going to use it for representing your brand. But for the love of all things podcasts, hire somebody to do it. Find somebody on Fiverr or Upwork. They're a dime a dozen these days. Find somebody, give them the vision on what you want to be able to go do, and have them come back to you with some mock-ups. She has this look. I mean, I know it's mine, and I'm a little impartial. But it's clean. It's obvious. Says what I do.
Shirt on.
Apple Podcasts, it's outdated because Google Podcasts doesn't exist anymore, but Apple and Spotify. This looks like something that has to do with a podcast. That's what we're aiming for. Equipment. You can record a podcast on your phone. Those things shoot 4K these days. I don't know about all you Android weirdos, but the iPhones. The iPhones shoot 4K. Waka, waka, waka. You can put a light that clips onto this with a mic. I'm mic'd up right here. The back of the camera there. That mic that she has in the camera back there goes into my phone. I have one too. Put it on a tripod, put the receiver in there, put the wireless mic on. It's wireless because the corded mic is plugged in because it makes it even more crispy. I was like, what is it? Plus I don't have a box hanging on my shirt, which is the mic. Point is, plugs into this with a light and decent audio, hit record. Find out if you even like what you're doing first before you dive in. I need a studio and a mic and a roadcaster and all that. This is my favorite piece of equipment. This is what I recommend for all my clients to buy. Then when they say, what equipment do I need? I go, right here. It's $59 on Amazon. I'm going to have my podcast equipment guide here in a second. So you can just scan that and you'll be able to download it. And you'll get all my secrets on my podcast equipment. The audio quality on this is exceptional. The mic's $59. Comes with a cute little stand. Fits in a backpack or a purse. I travel everywhere with it. I turn every hotel room I'm in into a podcast studio and record with this microphone. So that's the best. Some people do have, there it is. There it is. You'll scan that, type in your name and email. That's where they get you. That's where they get you. Everybody got that? All right, cool. So how does my podcast get on the internet, Sebastian? Great question. Your podcast episodes, first of all, you record a podcast episode. It needs an intro. It needs an outro. It needs to be edited. The audio needs to be edited and improved on. You don't just record something and just upload it. Well, it's done. Done's better than perfect. I don't know about incomplete's better than perfect, though. Right, so you want to make sure you have an intro and an outro. An intro has music playing. Hey, everybody, welcome to my podcast. It's about underwater basket weaving. Let's dive in. End of the podcast is the outro. Music starts playing. Hey, thanks so much for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast wherever you consume podcasts. Leave us a review. Tell a friend about it, and we'll talk to you next time. Music fades out. They're the bookends on each episode. As soon as the episode gets edited, it's time to upload it somewhere. You upload it to a podcast hosting account. We use Buzzsprout. I think they're the best. But there's a handful out there. Libsyn will make your eyes cross every time you log in there. Don't use them. They're the best out there. I mean, they're the biggest out there, but it's so difficult. I mean, so difficult. Every time I log in, I'm like, where do you upload an episode? I think I'm pretty smart. But Buzzsprout, very user-friendly. Simplecast as well. They run anywhere from free, which lets you get like an hour of upload time, to $25 a month. Most people are paying 12, 14, 16 bucks a month. That's where you'll upload all of your podcast episodes to, and that's where they live. The podcast hosting account will give you an RSS feed. That RSS feed's a URL that you submit to Apple and Spotify and all the other listening platforms out there, so that every time a new episode drops, you just upload it to your podcast hosting account and it automatically gets distributed because those platforms automatically have your RSS feed. Okay? Don't want to get too technical, but people want to know how their podcast ends up on the internets. That's how it ends up on the internets. Interviews. Another big problem in the podcasting world. Podcast hosts making it all about them when they're interviewing somebody. Okay? I always say that it's your job as a podcast host to ask questions and shut up. That's it. Too many people getting in there. You get done telling me your story about the question that I asked, and I'm like, now I remember a time that happened to me, and then I start babbling for 10 minutes, and you're like, who's the guest? Who's the guest?
What about me?
I learned from the great Larry King the 80-20 rule of interviewing people. Your guest is talking 80% of the time, you're talking 20% of the time. Ask questions and zip it. Remember our parents used to say when we were kids, if you think you're talking too much, you probably are. My mom still says that to me, but I'm like, that's how I make money. That's how I make a living. But that's a good check-in point. Am I talking too much? If you have to ask yourself that question, you're talking too much. 80-20 rule, bring value, make it all about them. Okay? See how excited it is. She's the guest. He's asking questions. You know, seems like an interview that's flowing along. I was on a podcast this week. Guy took 10 minutes to introduce me. I'm like, come on, buddy, let's go. That's what the show notes are for. Holy cow. Marketing. How do you market a podcast? How is this done? This is done through micro content. So what's micro content? We're going to talk about that in a second. But you market a podcast with your podcast cover art. And then you create little clips like this with your podcast cover art and a clip from the episode. You post it as a reel or a YouTube short or a TikTok video or pictures or images. That's really the only way to market a podcast. You can technically market a podcast and run ads to it if you want to. That's a great way to drive traffic to it. Most people who are just getting started aren't going to go and do all of that. What we teach specifically is don't worry about the marketing of your podcast as much. It's important. You want to tell people about it, branding, reputation, etc. But you're starting a podcast to interview people you want to do business with. You're starting a podcast to get your content game consistent because of the podcast. One podcast episode, weeks full of content or more. So you're achieving a couple of objectives. Networking, edifying yourself as an authority because you have a podcast, and repurposing that content on social media so you're showing up in the newsfeed, which, by the way, is where the eyeballs are at. Okay? They're not looking at billboards. They're not looking at bumper stickers sometimes in traffic. Sometimes.
Especially in Miami.
So what else is possible? Let's talk about it. Solve all of your social media content problems because of your podcast. How many people in here post every single day on social media about your business? 3. Amazing. Okay. That's a gigantic problem. Unless you guys hate money, you need to be showing up in the news feed. At least, listen, just once a day, one time. Hey, here's what I'm up to. That's it. So you're showing up. You never know where someone's going to come from, that next new relationship's going to come from. You never know where that next dot that's going to be connected is coming from. You don't know where that next door that's going to come, that's going to open up, is going to come from. You just don't know. Hey, Sebastian, I saw your story. Hey, Sebastian, saw your post on Facebook. Hey, Sebastian, saw your post on LinkedIn. I don't even know who you are. I get sales calls all the time. The first question I ask, where'd you find me? LinkedIn. Cool. Where'd you find me? YouTube. Where'd you find me? I Googled you. Is that because I'm doing SEO marketing? No. That's because I have an SEO strategy, because content on social media gets indexed on Google. And if you Google yourself, what's one of the first things that shows up? Well, mine's my mugshot, but LinkedIn is probably the first thing that shows up. Why? Because it's probably the most popular website out there, when content-wise. And then your Google profile and your Facebook profile, and then your posts. tweets. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas? No. What happens in Vegas stays on YouTube and Twitter and the Googles, okay? Repurpose content with micro videos, audiograms, promotional images, and blog posts. So you can take, now we live in this AI world, we got robots everywhere. We can take the podcast episode, we can have ChatGPT turn it into a blog post. And then we can post a blog post on our website with a little embedded player from Buzzsprout, our podcast hosting account, with the episode right there that's getting indexed online, and you're showing up in places you didn't even know you want to show up in. Micro videos. These are, this would be a remote podcast interview. If you pressed play, it's my guest talking with a clip from there. This format's changed slightly. Now it's moved more into vertical with Reels and TikTok and Shorts and all that good stuff. Square stuff still works as well on Facebook and on LinkedIn, but micro videos. So all I did was take the archive version of that interview and have my team go in there and put all the branding in there and my guest name and a catchy, how your attention wires your brain. What? I got to hear about this. That's the idea. Audiograms. You see how the branding just makes sense? It's like, oh, podcasts suck. Wow, that looks, wow, I don't even know what that means. I want to press play. And then when you press play, in the first 20 seconds, I tell you exactly what the podcast is all about. And you're like, I'm in the right place. I want to learn how to start a podcast, and I want to learn how to grow my podcast. I want to learn how to edit a podcast, and this looks like he's my guy. So these are audiograms. Static image, audio file slapped on it, saved as a video file. It's called an audiogram. Put the little squiggly lines on there too, so every time someone talks, little squiggly lines happen. Very effective. Images too. You can use the branding, you can use your guests, you can put their branding on there, leverage it. These days, you can post a reel and invite your guest to be a collaborator so it shares on their feed and on your feed too. And then schedule it. Take the content that you're getting created and schedule it out. Move on with your day. Go for a walk. Go touch grass. Go make a new friend. Record another podcast episode. Don't get bogged down in the weeds of constantly, when this feels like work, you are going to quit. That's human nature. When it feels like work, it's no longer fun. And when it's not fun, we quit. That's just how life operates. But when it's fun and it's exciting, this isn't work. I didn't wake up today and go, I'm going to go to work. No. I got up and I get to do this. I get to go meet some new beautiful faces, and I get to share my gifts with them and build some new relationships, grow my business, grow my network. That's what I get to do today. This isn't work, because if it's work, I'm not doing it. Not interested. Nope. I'm a big kid that's never grown up. I told my daughter, she's 23, trying to grow up. I'm like, settle down. It's a trap. So how do I do all this, Sebastian? What's the best way? I'll tell you right now, there's two ways. Do it yourself, the hard way. Hire an expert. That means, I don't care what you do. You read my book, listen to my podcast. You can go piece it together, find people on Fiverr and freelancers. Maybe you have VAs, virtual assistants. Maybe you have a team of your own that can go execute on that. Cool. Just don't do the work yourself. Because if you think you're going to go home, record a podcast episode, edit a podcast episode, upload a podcast episode, edit the content, post the content, I'm exhausted just rambling those things off. You'll do a couple episodes. And then you're going to be like, well, I had soccer, and then I had a church meeting that just showed up, and I had that going on, and there will always be an excuse. The clients that find the most success, sitting right there in the red, Kevin Spencer, with most success, I planted him in the room. He's actually in my B&I chapter, my local networking group, and when he found out about what I do, he joined our chapter. He's like, I'm in. And he has a brick and mortar business, helps local retail businesses with point of sale hardware and reward systems, etc. So offline, like the furthest from like, oh, I need to market my business online. But you know what he uses it for? Branding, authority, and to interview people that he wants to do business with. How much money have you made on your podcast from interviewing people so far in the past 2 years?
About 150,000.
About 150 grand.
I didn't expect it.
No, he just did it because he wanted to do branding and content. And I don't say that to go and brag, but he is a prime example of when you go and execute on my strategy on what we actually do, which is start a podcast to interview people you want to do business with, you're going to get an ROI on your podcast. And then you're going to start walking around going, podcasting works. Because there's been a lot of people out there like, oh, I tried that, it doesn't really work. I mean, that's marketing. Facebook, I don't know, it doesn't really work. Interviewing people, building a relationship with them, making it all about them, creating content, that works. Why? Because it's organic. And they see you coming. If I invite any of you on my podcast, you know damn well at the end of that interview, I'm going to say, so when do you start a podcast? You expect me to ask you that question. It's very organic, but first things first, I'm going to make it all about you. For the next 30, 45 minutes, I want to hear your story. I want to make it all about you. I want to know about your life and your family and your business, and I want to know all about that. And then after that, we'll talk a little bit about me. See the 80-20? Well, 20%. Because I know you need what I got anyway. So I'm going to talk to you about it, or I would be grossly negligent to not do that. Does that make sense? By the way, if you take a picture of that QR code, that brings you right to a page that you can book a call with me. So we can spend 20, 25 minutes together and figure out what's possible with you starting a podcast. I can get your questions answered. I'll get you a copy of my book. And also walk you through the park, because we're not really allowed to talk about what we do here, even though I did already, but there was no like sales offer in case there's like small business compliance people hiding somewhere. Did you get all that? But that QR code right here will bring you right to a page. Type your name, says start a podcast, dead giveaway. Type your name, email, phone number in there. That'll bring you to my calendar page. You pick a day and time that works for you. And yes, you'll be meeting with me. I'm not going to send you to one of my team members unless I'm completely booked. But as of late, I've opened up a lot of time because I love doing what I do. I'm never too busy to talk to you about what's possible with you starting a podcast so that you can radically change your life and your business. If you want to do it yourself, just do it. You can. Just make sure you've got helpers. Okay? Everybody agree to that? Okay. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it on my own. I'm going to have a helper. So read my book. Go to podcastsuck.com/book. If you're a physical copy type of individual, cool. If you're an Audible person, it's on Audible as well, wherever books are sold. And these again, all my secrets out in the wild in one book. I outline it all. You know, I wrote this book because it's my responsibility to do it. Because someone would be missing out. There's somebody out there who can't afford to hire me. They can read my book though. And go to my YouTube channel. It's my responsibility. You see how that works? I didn't have to read. You know what it is to have like a high energy, ADD poster child type of guy like myself sit down and write a 40,000 word book. But I did it. I actually locked myself in a hotel room in Cocoa Beach on the beach. Rearranged all the furniture so I was looking at the ocean the whole time because I'm like, I got to get this book done. I was like 4 chapters away. So I got there and I'm like, okay, we're going to spend the weekend and we got to write this book, but we can't do it all day. So let's make a deal with each other. I'm like, okay, we're going to write from 6 a.m. till 12 and then we're going to go sit in the sand, drink beer the rest of the afternoon. Then we're going to wake up and rinse and repeat. I did it for 4 days. Book was done. So if you ever need a book writing hack, go lock yourself in a hotel room up at Cocoa Beach on the water. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate everybody's attention and for being here. I do.
Thank you.
Yes. And with that, I will start taking some questions. I'm going to take this nice young lady's question first because she was eagerly. I promised my mom I'd take a selfie with you guys. Okay. All right, we'll do like a civilized one and then we'll do like a crazy one. Okay. Okay. Hold on. No, this is a crazy one. Ready? All right, cool. What you got?
So I'm curious about the name of your business and then...
Podcast Launch Lab.
No, Podcast Sucks.
Yeah, that's the name of my podcast and my book. And then the name of the company is Podcast Launch Lab.
Okay, why Podcast Sucks?
Because the first, it's Podcast Suck if you don't have one. So it's like my tagline.
Okay.
I'm also a comedian, so I can get away with more than the average person. So me saying, podcasts suck, you're like, that's kind of funny. And why do they? It all originated from my first book, Social Media Sucks. If you don't know what you're doing, I wrote in 2013. Because I was working with my good friend, Michelle Villalobos, who's a branding brilliant branding mind, and I was like, oh, I'm going to write a book about social media, like how to use social media. And she's like, yeah, that title's not going to work. Not with your personality. You need something that like punches someone in the face. And I'm like, how about social media sucks? She's like, that's it. So I kind of just doubled down on that with the podcast suck.
So my real question though is why, so what is your content? What do you talk about? Is it related to comedy?
So on Podcast Suck, it's a podcast about starting and growing a podcast.
Oh, okay.
It's an extension of my book.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, got it. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you. Thanks for being here.
I'm in an industry that's like not exactly super exciting. I'm a customs broker in logistics. Now there's talk about it with all the tariffs going on. So I want to create a podcast to answer, people's questions. But should it be more like an interview style, or should it be more like an organic conversation? I guess kind of like add some level of entertainment to the subject. So what do you recommend to capture people's attention?
I immediately think of the TSA Twitter account. I don't know if you follow TSA or not, but they do an exceptional job for it to be like a government agency and like airport. Like they are hysterical. Their content is outstanding, but it's very clear who they are and what they do. Yes, you would need to figure out a way to inject some Jess into that equation, because it's like, beam me up, Scotty. Let's talk about customs, right?
Yeah, so like the person that's handling my marketing now, he's really charismatic, he's funny, but he would obviously be interviewing me because I'm the customs broker, and I feel like my personality is not like so,
Sounds like you got a good dynamic there.
Okay.
Yeah, you got to make it fun.
Okay.
If it's boring and mundane type of industry,
They're gonna be like,
yeah. Nobody cares about TSA. Everyone's pissed they got to take their shoes off. So, but their social media account
Okay.
makes it all worth it.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
get that as
I gotta check that
inspiration.
out.
oh, it's exceptional.
Really?
But think of Bobby. You know who that is? She's super famous for being awkward. She's not even funny. She's super low tone. She's not high energy, and she's famous. If you look up Bobby,
Okay.
Yeah.
Think of Bobby.
it's just Bobby. Her name.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bobby with an I or an IE? Y or an IE?
Bobbi.
Oh,
But
okay.
she's a millionaire just for being awkward.
Okay.
Yeah. So just be you.
Hey, I told you anything's possible. You hear that? A millionaire just by being awkward. Good Lord. Wow. Wonder if that translated into my dating world. I'm like, hi. What other questions?
So podcasting used to be just audio. If you're starting off, do you go audio only, or you do video and audio?
So there's a video. So video podcasts don't exist. That's an unpopular opinion, but that was a made-up term. There is a video component. I break it down like this. There's a video component to podcasting, because after 2020, we are all Zoom compliant. Everybody knows how to use Zoom now. So there's a video component. So if you're recording your episodes remotely, you're recording the episode, you're getting the video and the audio. The video component is utilized for the micro content. So you want that on there. But a podcast, by definition, is an audio file uploaded to the internet to be consumed auditorily.
Right.
Podcasting does have a video component. The internets have just kind of combined everything together and been like, well, video podcast, which I think is creating mass confusion.
It's not. It's like more for blogging, I guess, or vlogging,
Right.
or whatever.
Well, if you have a show on YouTube, then you have a show on YouTube. You have a podcast. You may be recording a video of your podcast, but that's not necessarily a podcast. I know YouTube's they're trying to real hard to hang in the podcast game. I don't think they're going to make it. I think they've established themselves as a video platform. But large celebrities and big names and comedians and people we like to follow, we like to see their guests and watch the actual show. That's way different than me hosting my business podcast on there and someone went, I really want to watch these knuckleheads talk.
Right.
Yeah.
You can do both together.
Yeah.
Record YouTube. And
Exactly.
podcast.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you wanted to upload the video archive of the podcast episode to YouTube, you can. I've yet to see any results from that. Vanity, sure, I'm on YouTube, But other than that,
It's mostly it's strictly audio.
correct.
Is there a live podcast or no?
You can go live. I record Podcast Suck live on Facebook LinkedIn, and YouTube, just so that there's a live component. Plus, I haven't done a lot of live video, but now it's become a lot easier. You got the quality, you got the audio, it's easier to go. Before, like doing a live stream and not having a problem was rare. These days, it's pretty streamlined. I use Ecamm Live.
I think you have StreamYard.
It's a software. Yeah, StreamYard. You can, there's a couple different ones. And then you go and you sign into your social media account, and then you go live from there, and then you take the archive. That becomes the episode that you go and edit, as well as the video. But yeah, you can totally go live. I like the live component because it allows me to interact live, even though it's hard to focus when I'm live doing an episode. But people comment. It lives on your social media. It lives on my YouTube channel. And then I turn it into a podcast episode, and I address both audiences. Hey, if you're tuning in live as we record this, what up? Drop a comment, questions, comments, concerns. Comment below. I respond to everybody here. If you're listening to this, thanks for tuning in.
How do you make money? I know you were saying that he made a lot of money. Is it from the podcasting, hosting? They're the ones that's paying you?
It's from interviewing potential customers and clients.
So like the person that he's interviewing would be paying him?
No, the person he's interviewing is somebody he wants as a client.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
So if I want you as a client, I'm like, let's get you on the podcast.
Gotcha.
You already know I start podcasts, and I already know you need a podcast. That's obvious. But I'm going to get you on the podcast. I'm going to make it all about you. I'm going to build rapport with you. I'm going to build a relationship with you. And then I'm going to say, when do you start a podcast? And you're like, that's what you do, right? Let's schedule a call and chat about it. And the next thing you know, you've hired us to help you launch your podcast, and you've become a client. And I've been able to monetize that podcast episode. And now I'm teaching you how to take that framework and do the same thing.
And additionally, somebody might listen to the podcast, and then they might reach out to you.
Correct. Or see a clip from the podcast on socials and hit you up. Like I said earlier, you just never know where people are coming from.
Yeah.
That's the fun part about it.
Yeah, so if you're trying to do like an educational podcast, is it customary to pay certain people that you're interviewing to come on? Like,
No.
No? Okay.
No. You would maybe pay to be on other larger podcasts for exposure, but I don't know that you would pay someone to get them on your podcast because you're doing something for them. Yeah.
And get notes.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Best way to edit it?
Hire an editor.
Just hire an editor.
Yeah. Hire an
Where do
editor.
you find those?
Fiverr's great. Upwork, freelancers out there. There are a dime a dozen these days. Everyone seems to work remote or have a virtual assistant or an EA. That's usually the best place. I'd rather wake up in the morning, punch myself in the face, and eat my pillow than edit a podcast episode. But I have a whole team in-house that loves doing it. So that's the best part about it.
Is the goal for my business to go on other people's podcasts as well?
Sure. If you're you should have a podcast of your own if you're going on other podcasts. Because I hear that a lot too. I don't have a podcast, but I like going on other people's podcasts. I'm like, who doesn't, Joe? You know? So I think both. You're double dipping. I got my own podcast and I guest on podcasts. I do that all the time. Yeah. In fact, I'm in the middle of a PR campaign right now, and part of the deliverables are getting me booked on larger podcasts. So I'm in the thick of that right now. So it's exciting. I'm looking forward to it because I don't have to work so hard. I just get to answer questions. Anybody else?
I got one more question.
Sure.
Sometimes I'm having conversations with my girlfriends on the phone, and I'm like, oh my God, this conversation is so good. I feel like it should be like on a podcast. Like how do, I guess I already made my, I scheduled my appointment with you. I guess you could kind of help me navigate.
Yeah, I joke about this. This isn't because you just said this on here. I'm not making fun of you at all, but I always say, if you think just because you and your girlfriends get together, guy friends, and you're having a couple glasses of wine, you're really funny, it'd make a great podcast, you guys are the only ones that think that, okay? Yeah, so usually I say kind of steer away from that because it's subjective. To you guys, it's hysterical.
Not that it was, not we're actually having some really deep
Well,
conversations.
okay, so extracting something out of those conversations and being like, okay, we got to do a podcast episode about, that's one thing. I'm talking about like hit and record while we're all hanging out type deal. I'm like, yeah, that's incriminating. Yeah.
Is that like kind kind of scripted, because I've had conversations like that too, where I'm like, oh, this would be a great podcast. But anyways, that's like, is that like?
You just never know what's going to work. Start going live on Instagram first. So it's like, oh, girl, that is something we need to talk about publicly. Let's go live next week on Instagram. She goes live, you go live, we're right there. Have the conversation. Does that get traction? Cool, it's getting traction. For the first 5 times we did this, we should turn this into something. Crawl, walk, run, figure it out. Thank you. Thank you, guys. I appreciate everybody. All right, I look forward to connecting with you guys. Thank you.